Mr. President.
Oh, you got all these other incompetent people trying to talk over me. It's so
Okay.
sad.
Okay, hold on. I'm just going to say something first to start us off. Thank you for being here with me all today. I don't really have any announcements or anything. I'm just here to take some questions and open up transparency from the executive branch down to us. I just had a great meeting with a number of people from the legislative branch, and
That's a lie.
I met with Senator Riley. I met with Senator Gaming and Representative what's his name? Stephen Bryant.
You mean soon to be ex-Senator Gaming?
Yeah.
Representative Stephen Bryant and a number of others, and we discussed a variety of issues and a couple of pieces of legislation that the administration is working on that I'm not ready to announce at this time. But we were able to get some good compromise done on those pieces of legislation. So yeah, any questions that you have, I'm here to take it. So does anyone have a question?
Mr. President.
Mr. President. No.
Yeah, Chris.
Okay. Mr. President, you have discussed during the election recently private attacks from then candidate Brett Patrick. Now that the campaign is over, how have you two resolved your relationship, or haven't you taken any steps to resolve your relationship?
Well, yes, it's true. Mr. Patrick made a number of untrue lies and smears against me to try and deflect some of the momentum that our campaign had going into our really short time in that election, where we announced and had a boost of momentum that was taking us to looking like we were going to win. So he was counteracting that with some lies and smears, and I thought that yes, that was unfortunate, and I thought that yes, it needed to be publicly called out. So I did do that, but I think he never responded to those arguments specifically, and I never really pushed him on that, other than in the comments a couple of times in that post. But we never talked about those specifically. We never really looked over our conversations. Mr. Patrick did a number of things in that election that I thought were seriously, that made me question his character and who I thought he was as a person. And I think that while we have reconciled and we are both content with each other as people, I think there is somewhat underlying tension between us, and I think that's true with Mr. McKay as well. But I think at the end of the day, we respect each other as politicians. We respect each other as legislators, and we understand that this is just a game, and we're all a part of the game, and we're all fighting for our principles and our values. And I think that's
Mr.
what's
President.
most important.
Mr. President.
Yes, Terrell.
Thank you. And I got one simple question. What's your opinion of the way the governors have been implemented and how everything is going so far in terms of the governor elections?
Well, simply tremendous. I mean, when I came up with the governor's proposal and I proposed that to the community, and we started that discussion, and I started working with the moderators on an implementation plan and the referendum and so on and so forth, I don't think it could have gone smoother than it has. And I think the array of governors that are governor-elects that we have that are going to be sworn, and I believe it's going to be on Wednesday, are phenomenal governors. And I think a number of them are phenomenal governors and will do phenomenal work for their districts. And I'm looking forward to some of them proving my expectations wrong and some of them exceeding expectations. And I'm looking forward to seeing the precedent set with this new branch of governing in this community, this new whole thing in our community. And it'll be a whole new, and their lieutenants, correct, yeah. And it'll be a whole new dynamic that is going to change the way MEC runs. And I'm pleased with the way it's been implemented. I couldn't have imagined it better. When I first wanted this implemented, I thought it would have gone a little rougher even. And so yeah, I'm very proud of it, and the work that owner Adam and I have done together has been tremendous on this, and his help has been tremendous on this. And without it, we couldn't have done this. So yeah, we're feeling good about that. Anyone else?
Mr. President.
Yeah, Mr. Andrews.
Thank you. Cameron Andrews, Daily News. Mr. President, what is your administration's take on the current impeachment trials of Supreme Court Justice Kenneth Quinones?
I think the administration would like to remain neutral in that time. I don't think that's something that the administration should comment on at this time. I think it's an inquiry. We have no real. It's not an impeachment trial yet. We're not. We're not.
Is that in terms of the Supreme Court?
Yeah, that's an impeachment of the Supreme Court justice going
Yeah.
through.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not unprecedented for a Supreme Court justice to be impeached, but it's highly irregular. It's highly irregular. I mean, it's happened before. It's not unprecedented, but it's highly irregular. And I would hope that the Congress does its due diligence in investigating the matters at hand, investigating what had happened in that case, and investigating what happened in that chaotic period of around 4 or 5 days, and really getting to the bottom of this. And I think if Congress actually does its job here, we can actually have an effective.
Which they won't.
If Congress actually does their job here, we can have an effective investigation that gets to the bottom of this. That's what I hope happens, and whatever Congress finds out, then we'll move forward from there, and the administration may take a stance once we have more information. But I'd have to have more information on that to answer that question. Anyone else have a
Hello?
question?
Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr.
All right,
President,
yeah.
Mr. President.
Mr. McCann.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. 'cause
What's the
I'm gonna
follow up? Follow up.
Hey, you
Actually,
can
wait. I'll allow you a follow up. Oh, just hold on, Mr.
Yeah,
McCann. Mr. Andrews, follow up.
If the justice does get impeached, will the administration appoint a new justice?
Yes,
Isn't that the way it works?
Yeah, it is the way it works, and we're going to be the administration is committed to keeping the court filled, and this administration wants to set a precedent of making sure that the court is filled at all times, and that there are no vacancies on the highest court in our land. And we have we have people on our list in case of an event like that happens, but again, we don't want to take a stance on that as of now. All right, next questions.
Mr. President.
Yeah,
I have
Mr.
my
McCann.
follow-up.
Mr.
What
McCann.
about my follow-up? So here's what I want to say, and so I can we can get this clear on the record. In your opinion, if the Congress does go forward with an impeachment, setting up an impeachment inquiry, and basically my thing is, if you're going to impeach a Supreme Court justice, you have to have a justified reason. And as one who listens to all of the things that goes on in terms of the quote unquote inquiry into impeaching a Supreme Court justice, my thing would be, if you're going to impeach one, I think it's safe to say that you need to know a reason for impeaching a Supreme Court justice, because as of now, there's been no evidence whatsoever presented to impeach a Supreme Court justice. The Constitution.
Well, let's
The Constitution says good behavior, but that's a very broad term, good behavior. So what would you? I mean, my thing is, what would you impeach a Supreme Court justice over if they are enforcing the law?
Okay, so if I was if your question is if I was a member of the Senate, or if I was a member of the Senate and I had to rule on the trial of the Supreme Court justice, what would I view as impeachable conduct? I think impeachable conduct would be breaking your judicial boundaries as a justice, set in stone.
What would that consist of? But how would that?
Well,
be?
set in stone by the precedents of former Supreme Court justices, and I think if
the only precedent that's been set in this community is when the Supreme Court justice was inactive. That was the only precedent set.
Using the behavior, well, because we haven't had a precedent of impeachment in this community per se, but using the precedents of impeachment from real life, which set in stone pretty clear guidelines on how a Supreme Court justice should act. I think those are the guidelines that we should use. If they show bias prior to even deliberating on an open an open case, then I think that is impeachable conduct. That
wouldn't be impeachable conduct, Mr. President. That would not be impeachable conduct.
Well, we're not here to have a debate. I gave you my opinion.
Impeachable conduct.
We're not here to have a debate.
That's not what the laws say.
I'm glad you have your opinion like that.
Well, no, that's not the opinion. That's a fact.
Next question. We're gonna move on.
Mr. President.
They don't like. Here's the thing about this administration: when you call something out, they don't like it.
Okay.
No, you can ask your question again, but we're just trying to keep this moving. We don't want to just have one person talking the entire time. All right.
Well, I
Chris,
mean, the
Chris
rest of
Miller.
the, well,
Just
the
keep
rest of
no.
them, I mean, they
Mr.
Hold
have
on to your
very
question, then
important
and then
questions.
hold on to your question. You can ask it later, but Chris Miller is going to talk now. Mr. Miller.
So, with the implementation of governors and lieutenant governors and the legislators thereof, will you push for a constitutional amendment that would put in effect the original Article 5 of the MEC Constitution and allow states to have a right, a voice in constitutional amendments?
I would 100% support that, and I would push for a constitutional amendment showing that. I mean, if we're going to have states, if we're going to have state legislatures, if we're going to have lieutenant governors and governors, then we have to give them the ability to participate in the constitutional ongoings of our government, and that's a fundamental piece to the United States Constitution. And that wasn't that there was a justified reason for that not being fulfilled when we didn't have governors, but now that we do have governors, there simply is no justified reason not to have that amendment in there. And I would, yes, push for that amendment and support that amendment wholeheartedly
I
if
have a
it were
question.
Mr.
if it
President,
were
Mr.
to
President,
push for the thing. Mr. Andrews, yeah, go ahead.
do you plan on legalizing pornography?
Legalizing pornography. Pornography is already legalized, so I do not plan on infringing on the civil rights or on the civil liberties of individual Americans. No, I don't. Mr. McCann, you can go ahead. I know you have a question.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
try
well,
to
my
make it not a long speech though. Like just
well, I mean,
I understand
listen,
you have
just
heated opinions, but we're trying to keep this questions and
because
answers. So
because we need to make sure that we get a clear statement from you as President of the United States. So it's going to, if it takes me 2 minutes to get my point across to you, and so that you understand what the question is, so we can get it clear on the record, then I'll do that.
well, no, because I
And
won't allow
I've been in,
that.
hold
We'll
on,
move on if you do that.
I've been in media for a very long time.
No, I understand that, but I run this press
I've been
room
in
right now,
media for
and
a
if
very
you do a
long
2-minute
time, and
question, if
I've
you
had
just ask your
I
question.
have had presidents who have answered questions.
Right,
So
but I run this press.
if you don't
I
want
run
to,
this press
so my
room.
question.
I am going to answer your question, but
Okay,
just
so
don't
answer my
extend your
question. So
time for
if
the
it
sake
takes
of
me 2
extending
minutes
time.
to get to my point, then you
Right,
go answer the
and what I'm
question.
saying is, if it does
So
take you
here's
2
my
minutes, I'm going to
question.
move on.
Here's my question. You have stated your opinion on what you just said earlier about impeachable conduct for a Supreme Court justice. That's your opinion. You say that a Supreme Court justice showing bias before a case is impeachable conduct. My question is, where in our laws does it say that?
That's set by precedent of the conduct of the Supreme Court justices going
I
back.
haven't seen that precedent. Would you like to state and show me a cite a source?
I don't have a cite of source up here on this podium with me right now, so I mean,
Interesting.
I can send one to your office right after this.
Yeah,
for
please
sure.
do,
I would love to
because
do
I
that.
want to read the precedent, because there's been no precedent in this community in regards to impeachable misconduct.
Well, if you want to talk about precedent in this community, then we can talk about precedent in this community. The
only precedent that we have in this community. Well, let's
precedent
talk about
set by
that. The only
other Supreme
precedent that
Court
we have in this
justices was
community
staying
is when a
unbiased
Supreme
in
Court
cases
justice was
publicly.
inactive. There is no precedent.
Yes, there
if
was.
A Supreme Court justice shows bias.
The conduct of Supreme Court justices in past courts in this community specifically, but also in real life, has been to remain unbiased publicly on an open case. That simple.
Hasn't been,
and
that
impeachment
hasn't been a law, though.
And also,
that's not a law, though.
It's not a law.
You're stating. So what you're stating
Mr. President,
no, I agree with you. It's not a law. I don't want to get into a yelling fight with you again. It's not a law. You have your opinion on this. I'm glad you got your gotcha question. Yes, I do think that's impeachable conduct, but that's up for the Congress.
That's your thought, but it's not the law. My question was,
okay,
what would you impeach a Supreme Court
justice? That is your interpretation of the law. I have my own.
What is your So my question
I've stated
is,
my
you
interpretation of the law.
Question: what would you describe in that point in impeaching a Supreme Court justice? Because you have clearly no law.
The precedent set by conduct is what it is. That's what it is. It's conduct precedent. That is a.
But you refuse.
That
but you have. But you.
No,
but you
I
don't
accept
show,
that there is no.
You don't show the document.
Mr. President, I have a
I
question.
can't. I like I said before, I have no document with here on this podium. I'm answering
Well,
questions.
if you want to send the document, you can. But
Well, I'm not going to stop this entire thing to subserve your own ego.
no,
So
I didn't.
I'm
I didn't
glad you
ask
got.
you
No,
to.
I'm glad you got your gotcha question. I'm
assuming
glad you
things.
got your gotcha
If you
question.
want to send this to my office after the fact, then you can.
I've already stated I was going to do that.
Good.
So
Then I would
great.
like to see it.
Great. After this, your office will get that. I'm glad you got your gotcha question.
Yes, I did get my gotcha question that you didn't answer.
I answered it fine, and I think people
No, you
will know.
didn't.
All right.
No, you didn't.
Cool. You can say no, you didn't, but I answered it fine.
I've been in media
All right.
longer than you've been in this community. Trust me. I have
Cool.
no questions that get certain people.
Okie dokie. All right.
Mr.
Mr.
President.
Andrews.
Okay. Do you feel that if you're in favor of making Supreme Court justices be elected officials, do you feel there'd be a constitutional amendment that would go against this? And do you feel the Supreme Court would have a right to somehow knock this down?
I backtracked my statement on that. I changed my. Yeah, actually, I don't really care if that's. I'm not running for re-election again. That's not a gotcha. That's not a gotcha question on me. I changed my opinion on this after having it explained to me. I think on the federal level, I think that the appointments still should happen by the executive, and I think, but I do believe on the state level that most Supreme Court like state level Supreme Courts should be democratically elected. Yes, because it is working. It's working in states like Wisconsin where the Supreme Court is more efficient than other courts. It's more apt and able to adapt to the law, and I think that's an important piece of a local Supreme Court.
Do you believe that the cabinet should be elected?
Mr. President.
Mr. President.
No, I don't think the cabinet should be elected. The cabinet is an important piece of how the president organizes his own executive. If the cabinet was elected, it would turn into a squabbling branch of people that could not effectively govern the country. That would turn the executive branch into a legislative branch, which is not what the executive branch was intended to do. The executive branch was intended to administer governing, and the legislative branch is intended to legislate. We don't want the executive branch turning into a legislative branch. So no.
So, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Miller.
Since we're asking gotcha questions right now.
Every question's a gotcha question when your last name is Sanders, so.
Oh man. Anyways, since we're asking gotcha questions right now, I had a question. Apparently, I got myself with the question.
Yeah.
If you would give me a minute, you could come back to me.
Right. Anyone else have a question?
Yes, I do have a question. And it's based off of your statement in the Mihui community that you posted today at 4:34 p.m. And it reads, and I quote, "Has Biden committed to supporting the nominee yet? From what I've seen, he's the only one who hasn't. I'd love to be proved wrong." The only reason he hasn't committed to supporting the nominee yet because he is going to be the nominee. So,
Okay. That's, well, I'm glad you think that. I'm not here to talk about 2020 politics.
I don't think that I know that because your candidate sucks.
That's great. I'm glad
Andrew Yang is a perfectly capable person doing anything. He will be president one day.
Mr. President.
I'm glad my candidate sucks. I'm glad that Biden's going to win the nomination. I hope Biden wins.
Mr. President.
Good.
All right, Mr. Miller, go ahead.
So since we're asking gotcha questions, now you sent your president overseas to talk with Angela Merkel on a trade deal.
Right.
Yes. Vice President. Sorry.
It's pronounced Angela.
Well, let's be clear. I didn't send him over there. He requested to be sent over. I approved the request.
So
that's
the main question is, why didn't you go yourself if you felt it was such an important issue?
Go ahead, Chris. Yeah, that's a good question. Here.
Well, because I myself had a foreign diplomatic trip that I had posted about today. I'm going to London, Moscow, Paris, and I believe Berlin within a 2-day span.
So you plan on going to every single UN country except for Canada. That's great.
the vice president wanted to take a foreign trip to meet with with President Merkel to discuss trade
Oh,
and
God.
Chancellor.
Anyways, so Mr.
I have a
President,
follow-up.
as you know that this is the last term of Angela Merkel, in
Angela.
Again, it's
Yes.
Angela, you uncultured swine.
anyways,
I am aware of that.
so how do you feel your relationship with her will be impacted? Do you have like a personal relationship, emotional story you could tell us about from your earlier days in the presidency?
Well, I mean,
At
there
Monica.
was a what?
I did not mention Monica Lewinsky. Continue.
What? No, I don't mean like that. I mean
Right.
like
I
a
mean,
friendship.
President Merkel and I, we met when during the UK.
Chancellor.
Sorry, I keep doing. Sorry, I'm got a lot on my mind today.
They haven't
That's-
had a they haven't
Chancellor
had a-
Merkel.
they
Chancellor
haven't
Merkel.
had they haven't had a true president since you know who.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. But Chancellor Merkel, I'm sorry.
He was a great man.
Well, no, he wasn't. But Chancellor Merkel, I'm
You
sorry.
don't know who I'm talking about.
Chancellor Merkel, I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean,
She does not accept your apology. Continue.
we've had a good relationship, and we've talked. We've had good conversations at the summits we've been at together, but we haven't really had a close personal relationship, as my administration has been working closely with the UK and Canada to help usher in a new era of peace and prosperity by imposing pressure on China to produce a Hong Kong independence referendum, which we are close to getting China to do, and a number of other climate actions and some other trilateral actions that our three nations have been taking that Germany was not involved
Mr.
in.
President,
But
Mr.
I've
President.
had a fairly good relationship with Angela Merkel. I'll be sad to see her go.
Angela.
Angela
Mr.
Merkel.
President.
Yeah.
Why are you not visiting
I have
Canada
a
on this
question.
trip?
I have a question.
Well, you can't, Mr.
Mr.
President.
Andrews,
If you
Mr.
said
Andrews.
you're working in Canada, why are you not visiting Canada on
Racist.
this trip?
Well, I mean, the trip that I have planned currently is my European trip. I think next week I'm going to be in the U.S. next week, and then the week after that I'll be going to Canada, Mexico, and a number of other South American nations, and then the week following that I'll be going to a number of southeastern nations. So
Mr. President, are you willing to release any information about aliens to the American people?
I am, and I actually have something I can say to you here all today. We have 100% evidence that there are aliens at Area 51. I can confirm that there are aliens at Area 51, or there have been aliens at Area 51, and that we have been backwards engineering technology that has crashed onto this planet from another world. And we will be having a report released that details this fully to the Congress, and a redacted report that details this to the public. And I'm looking forward to releasing that report, and we are in the early stages of writing that out. I expect that to be released by either the end of this week or the beginning towards the middle of of next week.
I have two statements and 3 questions.
I'll allow you to do the 3 questions.
Okay. Number 1, what is Angela Merkel's first or middle name? Excuse me, since you guys are so close.
I never said we were so close. I don't happen to.
How is this relevant?
How are you relevant? Moving on.
Really, how are you relevant, Sam?
Moving on. Well, I didn't lose a governor race.
Okay, let's just
Anyway.
not talk about that. Hold on.
Neither did I actually. One.
It's Dorothy.
Well, you bitched out of it, but that's another topic.
All right, let's move on.
Yes. Since Uberfeld is going abroad, is this your attempt to prop him up for another term? Why aren't you sending your SOS to do that work?
Sorry, ask the question again. I couldn't hear you.
Are you attempting to prop up your VP by sending him abroad? Isn't going abroad typically the job of the Secretary of State? Or is
No,
he
we
serving as both?
we just haven't. We have not had our Secretary of State reappointed yet. The Vice President was just inaugurated. He just did a number of work. He just did a lot of work as Secretary of State in my second term, and he was just continuing to follow through on that work in his early days of being Vice President. I see nothing wrong, and the Vice President has, in the past, in almost every administration, taken a foreign trip. There is simply nothing wrong with the Vice President going on a foreign
But
trip.
traditionally, that's the job of the Secretary of State.
In a
Traditionally.
real
Right,
world.
but there is no Secretary of State right now, so.
Reclaiming my time.
Well, you can't reclaim your time. Mr. Miller, do you have a question?
Reclaiming my time on behalf of Giuliani News.
So yes, my question is.
Anyway, Giuliani
yes,
News is the favorite news source of Ethan Fitzgerald.
no one has asked for a mysterious number 2. Can you...
What?
What was your question? What?
Was that an
Anyways,
attempt at a joke?
My question
It was an attempt at a joke. It
can
didn't
you
go
tell
over
us
well,
any
Sam.
can you tell us any people who you might pick for Secretary of State?
I don't want to reveal my list for Secretary.
Not you.
I don't want to reveal my list for Secretary of State, as I feel.
And
like
a follow-up question: will you seek prosecution of Governor-elect Sam Martinez for his illegal, illicit money
Bring it.
donations to Russia
Bring it.
during the last election?
If anyone's closely tied to Russia, that'd be your people.
I haven't seen any evidence of wrongdoing by the Martinez campaign, so I would not prosecute that.
Couldn't say much about my opponents in the previous race, but that's none of my business.
Okay. No, I just want to comment. Do you have anything to say about Sam Martinez not inviting the governor of Caesarea to the football game tonight?
I didn't even know there was a football game, and I could not care less if he wasn't invited to one.
I appreciate your support.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
If
when did we start allowing Terrell's people in these press conferences?
Hey, shut up.
And by that I mean Supreme Court justices, because there's 2 of them.
Yeah, I can be here.
Hello, Malik. How you doing?
I'm under the
here in the Central Valley. Here in the Central Valley, we just had another dust bowl, so I can't breathe.
Oh wait, I have a really interesting question. Robert.
Go ahead.
You said you're handling the Hong Kong situation, right?
Correct. Oh, yes, correct.
Have you had any personal advice or outreach from the senator from Massachusetts, in particular?
The senator from Massachusetts.
Yes, I think we both know who that is.
Are you talking about Senator Islife or whatever his name is?
He's the only senator from Massachusetts in D4.
He's the only senator from Massachusetts and Hong Kong.
I see. Yes. I see.
Sam, he's not just irrelevant; he's also illiterate.
No, I haven't received any outreach from Senator Lee on this issue. He has not even contacted me.
Excuse me, his name is Senator Riley. Why'd you call him Senator Lee? Racist.
Because isn't his name?
No, his name's Riley.
Riley.
It's not Jasper Lee. Racist.
It's not Jasper Lee anymore.
Oh. Well, I thought it was Jasper Lee. Senator Riley.
It's Jasper Lee, but he changed his name to James Riley.
Okay, Mr. President.
Right. I haven't received any comment from Senator Riley on this issue, nor have I received any advice or concern on this issue from him. He hasn't expressed anything on it.
Wow.
Yes.
What a racist.
Okay. So you're dealing with the Hong Kong situation, am I correct?
Hong Kong.
Correct.
So you're saying that the people of MEC can interfere in real life relations? Is that correct? Just a simple yes or no question.
No, we're talking about the Hong Kong situation as it is in the MEC universe.
We have a Hong Kong situation in the MEC universe.
Question: is it allowed for the Supreme Court justices to be here asking questions on a biased
Exactly.
I don't know. I was just allowing anyone who said they had a press company was allowed into this.
For the record, my press company is Giuliani News.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Jesus Christ.
The official news outlet.
Questions?
Yeah,
might I add, the official news outlet of Ethan Fitzgerald.
All right.
Do you plan on eliminating term limits to make yourself perpetual dictator of the United States of America?
No, but his people do. Next question. Oh wait, I'm not answering. Sorry.
No, I don't. I don't.
See, he was going to elaborate, then he hesitated, because then he was going to give away his scheme.
Do you plan on appointing a press secretary?
No, I don't. I think that I can handle the press section of being president myself. I think
if you're smart, you appoint.
Well, I would recommend that you appoint a press secretary, preferably a snake, and if that's the case, I can give you plenty of great options for that.
Right. I would not like to appoint a snake to as press secretary, and
you're close with the snakes, but anyway.
And I will not be doing that. I'll be handling most of the press myself. I have a White House account where I've been posting updates from that account when I have a number of things done that day that I just want to put out to the community that I've been posting on that account, and we'll be doing this more often, I think. And
Wait, did we
I have a
hear
question.
secret email server, secret account?
Giuliani News has another question.
no secret account.
I have a
no
question.
Secret account. It's all public.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a
We have
question.
another question.
All right.
Okay, I have a question. So
Go ahead,
here's my
Joe.
thing.
Go ahead.
Wow,
Joe.
why
Go
does
ahead.
that person get to go first?
You were one of the main proponents for 4812, as you people like to call it.
All the time.
Yes, we like that question because you were the one who actually propped that up along with Ethan Fitzgerald. You people continue to listen
Who,
to
by the
Ethan
way, is a
Fitzgerald.
proud
I did
sponsor
one-
of Giuliani News.
Okay, propped it up is a bit of an overstatement. I did one.
No, not really.
I
Not
did
really.
Correct.
one post about it.
I would have to agree with Robert. He didn't prop it up. He shoved it down their throats.
Well, that's what
I did
Fitzgerald
one
did.
post about it with a joke picture where it was Bernie Sanders with a hood outfit
So,
on saying
here's my
period,
question.
and it
Here's
said
my
vote
question.
for 4812.
So,
So
yeah,
I don't think you can
okay.
say I propped
So,
it up that
well,
much.
you endorsed it. Is that a better word?
Yeah.
Okay. All
That
right.
makes sense.
Good.
I endorsed it, yes.
Yes, you endorsed it. Good.
But I wasn't a main proponent of it.
Propped it up. So anyway, every time y'all agree with something with Ethan Fitzgerald, it turns into crap. Believe me. So my question
I would say
is,
it's turning out very well, actually.
no, it's not. You'll see that in 3 months when y'all keep electing the same senators. So my question is, do you think that 12 weeks for a senator is too long?
I do not. I think it's
God.
perfect amount of time.
Why?
Because in real life, the Senate terms are long, and adds to the prestige of the seat of a senator. And I think
Well, 8 weeks for a senator, and since we changed the term lengths last time, 8 weeks has worked out perfectly too. Why touch
Okay.
something if it's not broken?
Well, because I think we can perfect it even further, and I think 12 weeks is
God.
perfected. I think just
12 weeks is breaking a system, not fixing it.
That's great. I'm glad you
At,
and your viewers
at-
have that. I'm glad you and your viewers have
Yes.
that opinion.
Mr. President,
Well,
do
not
Mr.
just-
President,
I'm
do you
glad
believe
you
in
and your
Not
52
just
viewers
me and my viewers, but people in this community.
Right.
But anyway,
Mr.
they don't like to
Mr.
answer those
President, do you
type
believe
of
in
Wouldn't
questions
that be
either.
your viewers? Okay, great. I'm
Mr.
glad.
President, do you
Well,
believe in
if the
52
people in this
terms
community had
under-
that view, wouldn't they had not voted for 4812? So that's a little interesting too. But
Mr. President, do you
Mr. Andrews,
support
go ahead.
52-week terms for senators?
I support 1,000-week terms for the presidency. I'm kidding. No, I don't. I support 12 weeks. I support 4812. End of story.
Okay, and is it true that you wish the Soviet Union to come back?
I do not wish the Soviet Union to come back.
But
I do not wish for state communism where
I have
authoritarian.
audio that has you saying yes. I wish. I hope for the.
I'd love
the
to.
Soviet
I'd
Union
love
come
to
back.
see that. I'd love to see that article.
I have audio. I said.
Audio. I mean,
So would
I'd
you like
love
to
to. I'd
sing
love
the
to see
audio?
that audio. Yeah, I'd love to see it. And anyone else have a question?
Yes. Do you plan on having active conversations with the governors?
Yes, I do plan on being active with the governors. We have. I was going to create, but Governor-elect Brown of Jefferson made a National Governors Association chat, so we have that. It's all set up, and we're going to be using that to communicate along with PMs, where I will be communicating with every governor where the situation intends me to.
Have you reached out to every governor?
I have not at the moment because I have, been abroad with my trip, but where we are, I was going to reach out to every governor, and that was something that we were going to do. I mean,
You ever heard of email?
Do you plan on keeping on selling Alaska?
I have
Yeah,
not
either
heard
of plans
Terrell's
of you selling
voice in like
Alaska.
20 years.
That's an interesting question, Mr. Andrews. If Canada came up with a viable way to pay for $22 trillion, yes, I would sell Alaska.
They haven't had a deficit for 12 years. So.
Great, send me a proposal. I don't know.
So
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Mr. Sanders, I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Seaman.
Thank you. So yeah, as you saw today, and maybe you've already addressed this, and maybe just because I got here a little bit late. Sorry if you have to talk about this again. But as you saw today, the NGA newly formed got some leaders with Sam Martinez and Nathan Brown. Would you be open to having a conference with all of the governors to talk about solutions in the future?
Yeah, I mean, no problem. You just asked. We just got this done. But yeah, I'm totally open to having a live conference with the National Governors Association.
Mr. President, I have a question.
Well, hold on.
Mr.
Hold
President,
on
you
for a
put
second.
in.
Hold on for a second, and I will be completely open with the governors at all time, and making sure that there is a line of communication and an open line of communication between the executive branch and the executive branches of each of the 4 provincial districts.
Mr. President,
I
Mr.
think-
President,
I
Mr.
think
President,
we
I have a
should-
Mr.
question.
Kim, go ahead, Mr. Kim.
I think we should recognize
No,
young Kim as the
no,
one true
yes.
reporter in this call.
Mr. Kim.
Mr. President, I have a question. Hello.
Yes.
There we go.
Go
That's
ahead.
the A+ journalism we all know.
Recently, a source said that you would be willing to have a referendum in mock election community to sell Alaska to His Majesty the King, Jacob Tawney of Canada. Please comment.
I said in a mech chat call that if Alaska were to be able to come up with a viable proposal to pay the United States.
At least get a price off of them, right?
Well,
22 trillion.
hold on.
22 trillion.
Hold on. And if they were able to come up with a viable proposal, and I said in the mech chat, if they were going to be able to come up with a viable proposal to pay for $22 trillion to the United States to pay for Canada, or to pay for Alaska, then we could open up talks.
Here's an
with the
idea.
Prime
You can have
Minister of
Quebec.
Canada.
We don't want it, and we'll take Alaska.
I'm not into land trades. Alaska is a very valuable asset to the United States. If Canada
How?
can somehow.
What if we
Really,
genocide
though?
there? What if we just genocide the whole state?
Well,
Then we have it.
there's a good reality show that takes place in Alaska. It's called Sarah Palin's Alaska.
Yes.
And if you sell that, we're not going to be able to have that.
Exactly. We need to ensure that stays on our
I will
airwaves.
allow it to be broadcasted internationally to the United
Aaron
States
Stemman
and
does bring
Washington.
up a very good point.
Any other questions?
Now, I have another
Yes,
question.
send me.
Mr. President, do you
Kim,
plan on? Mr. President, do
Okay.
you plan on re-implementing the war wheel?
Yes.
Yes!
No, I do.
I
not.
have a follow up question. Would you be in favor of selling Alaska to Russia since, and I quote, I can see Russia from my
Yes.
house?
I would not.
Yes, I'm sure John
That's
Lampros
true.
would love Russia.
I have a question. Question. Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Mr. President. Mr.
Go ahead.
President. Thank you. What is your opinion on the greatest Ohio governor in American history?
Sure.
Mike
John
DeWine.
Kasich. John Kasich. Of
Mike
course.
Mike
DeWine.
DeWine.
It's
Mike
Daddy
DeWine.
DeWine.
Hey, ho, ho. Mike DeWine has got to go.
He's got to
I-
be
Okay,
I'm
on
not-
the
an
list.
actual question.
I-
An actual
I'm
question.
not familiar enough with Mike DeWine to answer.
Resign.
I
Mike
have a
Quote from
question.
Aaron:
DeWine.
Sherrod Brown will drag Danny
Question.
Cordray across,
right, go ahead,
or
Sam.
whatever his name is, across the
Yes, question.
I have
Is
a
it
serious
true?
question.
Is it true your
Okay.
official policy with Russia is that Matthew Wolfson has to be involved in everything?
No, that is not my
Yes.
official
Also,
policy
can
in
we
Russia.
officially
It actually-
denounce-
Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Let me speak.
Can we denounce
Hold
Mac
on.
Russia?
And it's been the administration's official policy for the entire. We have not worked with Matthew Wolfson.
That's a good thing.
Good.
Other than when
Good.
he was foreign minister, is to simply tell him what the prime minister and I had already worked out because he felt.
Can we just
entitled
move
to. That was
troops
the
in
only
and
time
just get him
that
out?
I had communication with Matthew Wolfson in terms of negotiations between the United States and Russia. I have always worked directly with the prime minister because Matthew Wolfson is
Mr.
not
President,
a
Mr.
reliable
President.
source of trade between.
Can I ask my question?
Mr. President,
Mr.
Mr.
Steeman,
Are you
Mr.
willing?
I've been
Mr.
trying to
Steeman,
get a
go
clap
ahead.
for a while.
Mr. Steeman,
Are you-
go
Mr.
ahead.
President.
Are you willing to publicly denounce Matthew Wolfson?
Okay, I didn't see
Mr.
where
President,
Sam
Mr.
Mr.
Martinez
Steeman, go right
changed
ahead.
his official
Mr.
last
Martinez, I'll
name.
get back to you. I'll
Mr.
get back to you.
Steeman. All right, a serious question.
Jacob,
now.
you got to stay quiet. You're going to leave. All right, Mr. Steeman.
I have another question.
Let the other reporters
Okay.
talk. Let's
After me.
one at a time. All right, Mr.
All right, so
Steeman.
as you know, in a couple weeks there will be a 2019 another federal election in the UK
talking about real
between the major parties. Yes.
Okay.
Will the White House be making a formal endorsement or be looking for one party to win in that general election?
IRL or in Mac?
As I said earlier, IRL.
Oh,
The
Joe
administration's
Clinton.
not going.
Boris Johnson. I know Robert loves Boris Johnson.
The
I only love
administration
those-
will
And
not
Nigel
be making,
Farage.
the administration will not be making a public endorsement of any in real life candidate in the United States.
Are you willing to
Mr.
publicly
President,
Okay,
I
denounce
have
off
a
the
question.
record, who are you supporting? Off the record, who are you supporting?
This
Well,
isn't
it's
off
on
the
air,
record,
so
so
Mr. President, I have a question.
That means
Mr.
Jeremy
Kim, Mr.
Corbyn.
Kim, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Now, meantime, will the government commit to nationalizing the Weinstein Group and pardoning Harvey Weinstein?
Would you
Absolutely
be
not.
open
And
to
Epstein.
selling the Justice
Mr.
Department to
President,
Walmart?
Absolutely
Mr.
not.
President,
Would you be willing to
Mr.
say
President,
that?
do you plan
Mr.
on
Would you be
Andrews,
pardoning
willing to
every
Mr.
say
single
that
criminal?
quote Justin
Mr.
Trudeau is
Andrews.
just not ready?
Mr. President, do you plan on pardoning every single criminal in the United States?
I do not. No.
Another
Mr.
question.
President, Mr. President, Mr. President,
Okay.
Mr. President, a serious question.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, with the inactivity of the UK, do you plan on renouncing the UK until they become active and actually pass fucking legislation?
Yeah,
excuse my language?
we're looking into that plan now. We have I'm considering that option. Yes.
I have a question.
We have not made a final decision, but we are
A
considering
serious
that option,
one this
yes.
time.
Go ahead, Mr. Kim.
Will you take your first state visit to meet Canadian Prime Minister Jacob Taney soon?
Yes, I'd answered before. You weren't here, but that's okay. But I'd answered before that we are going to be going to Canada in 2 weeks. Not after the next week. I'll be in the United States for the entire week. But the week after that, we'll be in Canada, and we'll be taking a number of trips to South America and Central
Mr.
America.
President, do you plan to make
Make sure you get your shots.
if the House of Commons or Speaker of the House of Commons in Canada plan to invite you to speak in front of the House, would you accept?
If the Canadian government wanted me to speak in front of the House of Commons, I would gladly accept that offer. Yes.
Will you denounce? Will you
I have a
denounce?
question.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. McCain.
I will allow him. Wait.
I
okay.
have a question. Would
Go
you
ahead, Madam
be in
Secretary.
favor of supporting Jacob? What's
No.
your other senator's name? Oh, Cornyn. Yeah. Would you be in favor of supporting Cornyn again for Senate?
John
Is he asking
Cornyn in
me
real
or
life?
you?
I'm not. I wouldn't support John Cornyn in real life. No.
Mr. President, I
At
have a
all,
question.
in no circumstance. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm trying to remember it. Okay, I just remembered it. Mr. President, will you commit to denouncing the democratic system and supporting a communist system led by Henry Terry?
I will not, and the communist system in a true form is democratic. All right, let's move
Oh,
on.
Mr. President.
Because
All right, yep.
according to
Mr.
Henry
Sanders.
Terry, communism is better
Mr.
than
President,
anything ever seen
President,
before.
Mr.
I
President,
plan on renouncing
is
Matthew
it-
Olson.
Is it
Can we
precedent-
execute Matthew
Use your
Wilson?
words.
Is it precedent that a sitting president of the United States is also the chairman of a party?
I don't think
Ooh.
that precedent's been set before, but I see.
Oh, yes,
but
it has, because presidents in the past who have been chairman have stepped down to become president.
I was chair of the Workers' Fascist Party, so yes, there is a precedent.
Well,
Yeah.
I haven't heard that before, and I've seen.
Oh, well, yeah, it exists.
I was
Mr.
chair of at
President,
least
I've
40
seen no problem
parties.
with it so far. All right, go
Mr.
for it.
President,
Go-
do you support a
go ahead.
two-party system or a three-party system?
I support a
Working
three-party
People's
system.
Party.
I support a three-party system.
The
Will you
Bull
commit-
Moose Party.
Really, I
the Bull
support
Moose,
accountability.
the Bull
Really?
Moose Party has just turned into a party for progressives. That's all
I
it
support
is.
accountability.
Well, that's what it was. I mean, we've never.
Would you commit to allowing-
Okay, well, let me answer this. The Bull Moose Party has never tried to be a big tent party because we recognize that if we were a big tent party, one of the factions would get silenced, and that's what the Democratic Party tried to do with
Mr.
the progressive
President!
side. When we
You know,
were
the
a big tent
progressive, the
party.
progressive, because there
President!
was a divide because the
because you
because
always
the
like
progressives-
to talk down
Mr.
to us, and that we
President!
don't like
Yes,
that.
because
So
I do, because you
Mr.
have no idea what
President!
you're
As a
talking
deputy
about.
chairman
That's
of the
why.
Democratic
right, and why do you
Mr.
think we split
President!
off? All right, Mr. Andrews.
Because you're starting a party. You don't even have anything. You know what you're talking about. You don't.
Deputy chairman of the Democratic Party.
Mr. President!
We are not putting down progressives, so why do you claim this?
No,
Because they
I'm
don't.
talking.
Because they don't like the fact that moderates out.
No, you just
Moderates
admitted it.
have the majority
Exterminate
of
the
party.
moderates.
That's what they don't
He
like.
doesn't. Oh yeah, I forgot. He doesn't like that moderates
Exterminate
actually
the
win elections.
moderates.
Moderates actually win elections.
Robert left.
If moderates actually won elections, then why would we have the majority now? I mean, we have the majority, right? So if that was actually the true thing, then we would have not had the majority, and we
Well,
would
there's a lot of
be.
independents and stuff in the House and the Senate because
Mr.
everyone,
President,
everyone
Mr.
Right, but
President,
we have a plurality in the House and a plurality.
Mr. President, Mr.
Not in the
President, would
Senate,
you,
though.
Mr. President,
I
would
vote
you
for that.
support allowing former owner David Delaney to come back from exile in Canada back to America?
Is he exiled from?
Yes, I exiled him.
Yes, I would allow him to come back. I didn't know that was.
Shame on you! Shame
I had a
on
really good
you!
question that my mom called me.
Damn. Terrell and Sam left to go.
Would you
call?
would you be willing
Not
to make
cry.
a statue of Aaron's mom in Washington D.C. in
No,
the center of the Capitol?
I would not
Okay.
wait. I don't
Okay,
want.
racist, racist,
I am
racist,
done
racist,
wasting
racist,
funds for those
racist.
memorials, and most of the memorial bills that come to my desk from now on will not be signed.
Oh my gosh,
because they are
it is a
wasted.
progressive
Bull-
president
Wait,
that's
wait,
against
wait, wait,
wasting
wait,
Hold on.
government
I
money.
got one thing to say. I got one question.
Would you
to
build a
ask.
memorial to Jacob Tony?
I got one question to ask.
Yes,
Is
good.
is
Build a
it
memorial of the war wheel.
is it the Bull
Yes.
Moose? Is it the Bull Moose Party or the
Bullshit party. Yes.
That's funny.
Bullshit
That's actually
party.
so funny. I'm glad you don't debate us on the substance. You just constantly use personal
It
attacks
is
to try
because
and-
that's exactly. Well, you see, you're just proving my point that it's the Bull.
What
That's
about
it.
what about
I'm proving
What
your
is a
point
bull
by
moose?
saying you're
That's
not
my question. What is
attacking me
a
on
bull moose?
substance.
You're
That makes
proving
no
my
sense.
point. That it's
Mr.
just
President, what
BS
is a bull
party.
moose, to be honest? Is it a moose inside with
Nobody
balls?
likes the only reason all the people are part of the Bull is because the president, because they like to follow people so they can win. That's it. They don't actually like to get stuff done.
Mr.
Terrell,
President,
what's your email?
That's why we have gotten stuff done. All right, thank you
Mr.
all for
President,
coming
No,
out.
wait,
This
Mr.
is now
President,
this has
Mr.
turned into
President,
just
Mr.
a
President,
shit on fest. So
Mr. President,
we're done here. Thank you all for
Mr.
coming
President,
out.
Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, you will